Hey everyone, I hope you're having a fantastic day. We got some new information on Dragon Quest XII, Dragon Quest in general, and some other Square Enix titles coming from the Square Enix Shareholders Meeting held just a day or so ago. I'm here to fill you in on those details. If you enjoy Dragon Quest and JRPG content like top 10 videos, reviews, guides, and news, please remember to like, subscribe, turn notifications to all so you don't miss the next video. You can also hype the video to help others find it, and if you want to help out the channel financially, be sure to join the channel and become a Dragon Warrior today. Now let's get into it. I do want to start off by telling you there is some construction going on outside my house, so if you hear some random clunking and stuff throughout the video, that's why, so I do apologize for that. Alright, so details have been released for the latest Square Enix Shareholders Meeting, and I want to delve into it. There's some stuff on Dragon Quest XII, there's some stuff on Dragon Quest in general, as well as Nier, so if you're a Nier fan, stay tuned as well. I'm just going to go through the questions and answers in order, and give my thoughts and interpretation as a longtime Dragon Quest and Square Enix fan. Starting with question 1, since the introduction of shareholder benefits this year and the stock split, how has the number of individual shareholders changed? The answer to this is it increased from 12,000 to 23,000, effectively nearly doubling. So that's a good sign that the shares are doing well. They have doubled the amount of shareholders. Question 2, this is kind of the big one here. This is the one regarding Dragon Quest XII and, of course, shareholder skepticism in regards to the game being announced back in 2021 and then being announced that development has essentially started over just recently. So the question is, in 2021 the game was announced, but 5 years later it was said to have been restarted from scratch. That feels like throwing development costs into the trash. Please provide an explanation that is satisfactory to shareholders. How far has development progressed? I will say the answer here isn't what we were kind of hoping for. I was hoping to get some information, as the shareholders are, as far as like development progression, but instead the answer we got is a numbered title is extremely significant in weight and responsibility. We must conduct proper marketing analysis and ensure we are creating something of high quality. I want to kind of give my input on this as well. I do like this answer, other than the fact that they're not telling us how far in development they are. I can kind of see why they're not saying that, because they probably don't know. They maybe don't know how much longer it's going to take to finish. Who knows, right? The big key here is that they are putting some significant weight and responsibility in Dragon Quest XII, and the good news also is that they are not going to be chasing trends. I think that was the issue with the original kind of concept of Dragon Quest XII being quote unquote darker and all that, is that they were kind of chasing the trends of what Final Fantasy was doing, or so it seemed, and I mean that kind of blew up in that franchise's face, in my opinion. It says here, we must conduct proper marketing analysis and ensure we are creating something of high quality. Not only high quality, but something that the franchise fans want, something that Dragon Quest fans would want to play, something that feels and looks like a Dragon Quest game. And I think that's kind of the most important takeaway here, is that this could very likely be Yuji Horí's final game, and he wants to give the actual Dragon Quest fans what they want. He doesn't want to try and expand the fan base by chasing trends. I mean, we've seen how badly that fails in Final Fantasy's case. So I'm glad that they decided to stick to their guns here and create a Dragon Quest game that looks and feels and most likely plays like a Dragon Quest game. I'm working on a video where I kind of go through what I'm hoping and expecting and kind of predicting the gameplay and characters and all that are going to be like in Dragon Quest XII, just kind of based on the information we have. So look forward to that coming probably next week. But yeah, I kind of like the approach here that they have admitted that, hey, look, shareholders be damned. We want to put out something we're proud of, and we want to put out something that the fan base is actually looking forward to and wanting to play. Yes, we were looking forward to the original Dragon Quest XII, but I would be lying if I said that I didn't want a Dragon Quest game to look and feel and play like a Dragon Quest game. All right, let's move on to the other questions here. Question 3, how do you think about the preservation and continuation of content after a game's service ends? For example, with with Nier and Dragon Quest, how do you ensure the content is preserved or carried forward once services are shut down? This is a good question, honestly. This could be taken as like a game preservation question, as well as how much DLC can we tack on. I know there's a lot of people that comment on my videos that are like disappointed that more DLC expansions aren't added for a lot of the games and spin-offs, but to me, if it's free DLC, free extra story content like we got in like the 3DS version of Dragon Quest VII, for example, that stuff I'm totally in favor with. But them adding like paid extra story content, I'm not generally the biggest fan of. To me, all the content in the game should be in the game at no extra cost. So yeah, I wouldn't hate extra story content if it came out like a year after or something. You could tell it was something they've been working on since the game came out. But I really hate when there's content that is released as DLC half the time at release, at launch. I mean, we see that with like the mole hole and stuff like that with the more recent Dragon Quest Monsters games, unfortunately. But when it's story content and stuff like that, it's even worse, to be honest. Yeah, the answer to this question is we communicate and disclose information in accordance with the characteristics of each title. Nier is a type of title that is intended to be interpreted by the user themselves, whereas for Dragon Quest and similar titles, we release materials such as cutscenes and movies. I mean, they definitely dodged the question. They completely dodged the question there with answers. I think the answer is more like, this is how we would promote if we had extra content and stuff like that. But yeah, the answer was absolute drivel in my opinion. Question number 4. This is another Dragon Quest related question. I would like you to put more effort into Dragon Quest merchandise. Also regarding Dragon Quest X, the next story arc seems like it may be concluding. Will the number of users continue to increase? That is a very good question. Dragon Quest X version 8, they have said this will be the end of the story of Dragon Quest X. Dragon Quest X will essentially be 8 full-length Dragon Quest games in one, and it's been absolutely amazing. I'm about 2/5, 1/5 of the way through Dragon Quest X version 7, and it's been fantastic so far. Come hang out with me live right here on the YouTube channel to experience that alongside me on Saturday mornings. All the other versions up until now have been absolutely amazing, except for the fetch questy bullshit in version 2. But nonetheless, this is a good question. The answer to this question, we feel a sense of momentum and excitement. We will continue to put effort into both. That's awesome. It means we're probably going to get more effort put into the Dragon Quest merchandise. There have been some like lazy Dragon Quest merch announcements lately. There's some good stuff too, but it's usually like released as part of like a contest or something like that. Probably because they would charge way too much for it for people to be able to buy it. I know some of the Square Enix store stuff is ridiculously overpriced. I have purchased stuff from the Square Enix store, but most of my Dragon Quest merch is purchased from Mercari or Bai, which is where you can kind of get used merch from Japan, and it's priced appropriately, and thankfully Japanese fans take excellent care of their products, so it's basically new. As far as the Dragon Quest X version 8 thing, I do think the player base will drop off. Maybe not significantly, because people love this game. There's a lot of stuff to do besides the main story, especially if you're like an MMO fan. I personally am not an MMO fan. I just play the main story. I played through it single player and enjoy the hell out of it, but after I finish version 8, probably not going to be playing much Dragon Quest X personally. Question number 5. When it comes to next generation content, younger users tend to prioritize microtransactions and efficiency/time value, timing efficiency. Given that context, what kind of works do you intend to create going forward? First off, I want to say fuck you to the shareholders for demanding this kind of shit. Young users only tend to quote unquote prioritize this shit because this is all they know in the modern gaming era, is this kind of microtransaction bullshit. So they're conditioned to kind of look for this stuff, unfortunately. Those of us who have been gaming for decades prioritize content in the game, in the full purchase of the game, and not this like microtransaction bullshit. The answer is, we are conducting research into where spending is going. As the barriers to making purchases have lowered, we are developing our titles based on those findings. Kind of another non-answer here from Square Enix, but I hope that they kind of disregard that question, because yeah, nobody wants microtransactions and all that kind of bullshit in their games. Question number 6. Will a remake of Final Fantasy XV be released on the Nintendo Switch? They're probably referring to the Switch 2, honestly, or maybe they're just dumb. No offense, but a lot of times shareholders don't have a lot of knowledge of gaming in and of itself. So they probably mean Nintendo Switch 2, but they definitely said Nintendo Switch, and the answer reflects such. The answer is there are hardware constraints, but from a speculation standpoint, it is not completely impossible, so it is under consideration. So you may know that there was a version of Final Fantasy 15 released on the Switch, but it was like the Pocket Edition. It's super weird. It's kind of like a mobile version of the game. It's kind of a unique concept. I would like to try it and play it and just experience it because of how neat the idea is. It's basically already is a remake of the game, but everything's kind of chibi style. It mainly just goes from story point to story point from what I understand, but yeah, it's a different game, but also tells the same story, and yeah, I'd be interested in checking that out sometime. But I think what they really want is a remake of Final Fantasy 15 on the Switch 2, because the Nintendo Switch, like I said, only got the Pocket Edition of the game. I think Nintendo players would want to experience the actual full game of Final Fantasy 15. So I could definitely see them releasing a Royal Edition of Final Fantasy 15 proper on the Switch 2. All right, next question is question 7. Dragon Quest Walk has become quite widespread, but it feels like the company's not giving it much preferential treatment. What position does it hold internally, and what are your future initiatives for it? The answer here is it is a core title in the smart device segment. It is an important title for us, and that has not changed. Its visibility is being handled through real-world events such as collaborations with the Pacific League, among others. Unfortunately, no information on Dragon Quest Walk coming to the West. I would love this, and I think this would do very well. Pokemon Go did amazingly. All these kinds of games just give people an excuse to go out and get some exercise and have fun in their own communities with their friends and families. This is something that I don't think would cost a whole lot to do globally instead of just in Japan. I know there are some people in the West who play this. Let me know down in the comments if you play Dragon Quest Walk and how to play this, because I would be definitely interested in it. Although I have an iPhone, which makes a lot of this shit a lot more difficult to do. Question 8. Why doesn't Dragon Quest collaborate with analog games like Final Fantasy does with things like Magic the Gathering? Are there plans for that? This is interesting. The answer here, we are discussing this internally. While I cannot say specifically whether it will be card games or not, we are also working on analog, non-digital expansions. So that's kind of cool. It's referring to analog games as in like IRL games, like card games and stuff like that, maybe even board games. So the possibility is there. They're not saying that the possibility is off the shelf. So yeah, that's kind of cool. Hopefully we get some Dragon Quest content as far as card games or board games and stuff like that. I think that'd be really cool. Question number 9. Dragon Quest maintains a traditional command-based battle system suited to Japan, while Final Fantasy has increasingly changed its battle system in a more Western style. Will this continue even in remakes? Will the systems keep evolving in that direction? This is a big one. This is a very, very big question, specifically pertaining to most likely Dragon Quest XII, and of course remakes of the Dragon Quest games. The answer, we are continuously experimenting and trialing systems in line with the times. At the same time, we develop game systems while maintaining balance with long-time users and the expectations of existing players. So, a good sign. They have experimented with trialing systems in line with the times. I'm gonna comment on this a lot more in my what I expect to see from the Dragon Quest XII gameplay video that I have coming out probably next week, but this most likely means they're possibly looking to modernize the turn-based combat system. So think something like what we get with the Yakuza games or the modern Persona games, more so than getting rid of turn-based altogether. That's what this answer tells me anyways. Let me know what you think down in the comments. All right, number 10. Mr. Okamoto, from a corporate governance perspective, it is important that you are independent from management as an outside director. Did you hold any one-on-one meetings with general shareholders last year? Please answer yes or no. The answer is no. I have no idea who the fuck Mr. Okamoto is. Let me know down in the comments if you know who that is. That is the last question of the annual shareholders meeting with Square Enix. There was a ton of Dragon Quest questions here, so I hope that this information helped you guys out. Let me know if it did. Let me know if you have any follow-up questions you would like answered from Square Enix. Let me know your thoughts on the questions and answers, and your thoughts on the future of Square Enix as well as the Dragon Quest franchise. If you enjoyed the video, of course, please remember to like, subscribe, turn notifications to all so you don't miss the next one. You can also hype the video to help others find it, and if you want to help out the channel financially, be sure to join the channel and become a Dragon Warrior today. Thanks again so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next one.